All right, well, we're going to keep this conversation going. I appreciate the dialogue that we had. I'm enjoying this conversation. And I just want to bring up something that you had said, Claudette, where when we were off camera, just kind of chatting it up. And you had mentioned to me just about, you know, the environments that we're bringing or raising our children in, you know, how they're very different from how we were raised. And that, you know, I kind of made the comment that, you know, I feel like, you know, perhaps I'm just like overreacting or whatever. And then you kind of said, perhaps you are, you know, and that's a good point for us as parents that perhaps sometimes in various situations, you know, maybe we are maybe overreacting to the situation, and sometimes things just kind of work themselves out. And if you have any advice on, you know, just where to perhaps find a balance, you know, if you want to just speak to that for a minute, you know, or so, like just kind of how to maybe find a balance so that we don't find ourselves always like on the defensive for our daughters.
Let me say this, as I said before, because I always have to go back from where I started from.
Yes.
And our parents were very protective of us. And they wanted the best, and they also wanted us to shine. And moving from Alabama to California was a whole new scenario for me. And then having my daughter born in California, so that put her in another area of her life as compared to mine. And I think that sometimes we as parents can be a little overprotective because we don't want our children or our daughters or our sons to feel intimidated. But sometimes, you know, we were talking about the hair and the touching. You know, hey, touch it. Yes, my hair is different from yours because this is the way God created me. Your hair is one way. That's the way God created you. And then, you know, as a mom, you know, we are always with our eyes on our children, wherever they are, when we are there with them. And we want them to experience the best. But sometimes we can be a little bit too protective of them because of the environment. So, you know, let her shine. You know, let her hair be, you know, let her strut her hair. And of course, you know, limiting what is appropriate for that.
Right.
So, you know, just kind of balance it a little bit. And I said, because maybe reflecting back, you know, being born and raised in Alabama, we didn't have that opportunity to associate with children of other color. But it's an opportunity for her to shine.
Amen.
So kind of balance that.
Thank you. I like that balance. And
Yeah.
then Tina, something that, again, that we were kind of chatting it up about, and when I kind of said, you know, maybe I'm overreacting or, you know, or just maybe I feel like I'm always fighting a battle for her. And you brought up something very key that I didn't even think about, where you said, you know, maybe you're fighting a battle for you. Maybe that's a battle that you're fighting. And I know some other moms can perhaps relate to that. Maybe you feel like you're fighting for your children or fighting for your daughter, but deep down inside, perhaps you're like fighting for yourself. So if you want to just, you know, maybe address that, you know, a little.
I think that we all bring baggage with us.
Right.
You know, and we do our best. So we're trying to, like Claudette said, balance those two things. But here's the thing. You don't want to put a situation in place where there wasn't one.
Right.
You know, if your daughter, in fact, did not feel anything about this other little girl playing in her hair, that's different. But you said you saw on her face. Now, what you have to be discerning enough to know is it because she knows you don't like it?
Okay.
Or if it's because she doesn't like it?
Right. That's
So,
a good point.
I mean, it's a fine line that you're walking in terms of figuring that out. And I think that it's constantly trying to understand, okay, is this from something that I felt as a young girl growing up? Or is it in fact still an issue?
Right.
And that's the thing that really, and when you ask me, how do you do it? I don't know. And I said jokingly, but with all seriousness, through prayer.
Amen.
You really just have to be prayerful about your intentions. And sometimes it's okay to fight a battle through her for you, but know what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Okay, I appreciate that. And what about you, Sora Pamela? Did you want to add something to what either Sora Claudette or Sora Tina has said?
Yes. And I'm sure they're all surprised. And it is true. You had asked, how have we done the things we have done and why? And it really has been what I call a partnership with God. God is there for our wisdom, for our guidance, for our spiritual support, but also to me, he expects us as human beings to be active, to do things, right? So I hear sometimes people put it all on God. And I was like, I don't think he wants it all on him. I think he wants you to get up and to do something, to say something, right? It's a partnership. And so that is, when you had said that, I always think about partnership. And also in regards to, you brought up another good point, Tina, in regards to when we feel like we're fighting a battle, are we fighting a battle for ourselves or something maybe we have experienced earlier, or for our children? And I recall, me sharing with my daughter, Portia, that it's always important to have different groups of friends, right? She had her band friends, she had her AP honors friends, she had her dance friends, she had her track friends. I said, that's good. I said, you want to always have different set of friends because that way you're not dependent on anyone or anything, right? And I was giving her the speech and she's like, Mommy, did something happen earlier? And I was like, yes, it did. But she caught on to like, okay, I was on this little, treadmill, but she caught on that maybe something had happened to me that made me so energetic surrounding this topic.
Right.
But yes.
Right. Good. Awesome. Well, this is all great advice and wisdom, and I appreciate it. I know it's blessing me, and my prayer is that it's a blessing to the other moms and parents out there who I know got to be feeling just the sum of what I'm going through. I was like, I can't be the only one. I just know I can't be the only one. And I'm not. And I've had discussions with other parents, and we all feel the exact same way. And in fact, I just want to share something that a parent at my daughter's school actually shared with me, and it was something that her eight-year-old daughter told her. And she came to me one day as we were waiting to pick up our children from school, and she told me, she said, Terry, she said, my daughter, she was like, I don't know where this came from, but we were just riding in the car one day, and my daughter just said to me, she said, Mommy, she said, I noticed that there's not a lot of people at our school who look like Maya. She was like, okay. And she said, and really, I noticed that there's not a lot of people in our area or just in the Bay Area in general who really look like Maya. And so her mom was like, so I just kept listening and was like, okay, where is she going with this? Like, okay. And she kind of finished it by saying, she was like, Maya must be really lonely, not having a whole lot of people who look like her. And that just melted my heart because I was like, oh my God, this is coming from an 8-year-old child, and she's verbalizing what I feel all the time as a parent. When I'm dropping my child off at school and I'm taking her to dance and I'm looking around surveying the room that, nobody in the room looks like her, and what must she be going through, even if, you're not friends with, say, people that look like you. I don't know, maybe it's something that's kind of comforting just in being in the company, of people who look like you. And I'm like, here this 8-year-old child, is verbalizing kind of what I feel quite often as a parent. Like, how is my child doing in a situation, in an environment where she's around people where not very many look like her? And that just warmed my heart. And me and the other parent, we were able to have a little bit of dialogue, not very much, because then the kids got out of school and I got her phone number, and I was like, I just want to just talk to you. I don't know if I needed a therapy session or just needed to release, but and I still haven't called her and talked, but that just, it warmed my heart to know that a child felt that way, and it was kind of encouraging because I was like, you know, prayerfully and hopefully there's other children who kind of feel like that too, you know, that they're at least aware of it. So do you guys like, you know, have anything to add? Because again, you know, you guys, you raised your daughters and your children in, you know, similar situations, and, you know, did anybody, you know, wanna add to that? Did you have anything to say on that?
Well,
Tim?
I mean, just first of all, obviously, from my perspective, kudos to that mom
Amen.
for sharing that with you, because I think that it shows that she's done a good job in modeling empathy so that her daughter knows that, you know, there are other people in this world and we need to be mindful of them and be aware of their circumstances and how they're different than ours. So that's a good thing. But I think maybe for the conversation, and maybe why you haven't called her yet is, I think, like Sarah Pamela was saying, is, well, what is the next step? Now that we know this, and your daughters observe this, so how do we turn that into action, as you were saying? You know, you also said, I don't know if it was on camera or off, that God wants us to, you know, do something.
Right.
You know, it's not enough to, he can't order our steps if we don't move our feet.
Yes,
right?
yes,
So,
yes.
so how do we turn that into action? And maybe that's the conversation that you have with her around. So how do we make sure that Maya feels included
Right.
and validated and loved and part of the community? And it sounds like that mom might be a good place to start for you.
Yeah, I agree.
So does Maya and the young girl, do they play together? Are they friends at school, or is it just because of the relationship of coming and picking up in the conversation with you and the mom? So they're in the same classroom?
Well, 2 years ago, they were in the same classroom, so they know each other through that, and they've played together, but I don't think they're friends who, when they see each other on the playground, play together in the same group, but they were in the same classroom 2 years ago, so that's how we all kind of know each other from
Well,
that.
a possibility, you know, could be that maybe you can invite her over for a little tea party, and because she felt that maybe Maya was lonely, which she's not.
No.
But maybe you can bring her over and just
Right.
let the conversation stem from that.
Okay.
Just to kind of flip here a little bit, as I talked about my daughter who had that experience in dance school. Now that her daughter was going to dance school, so she had some similar situations there, and this was in Atlanta. And so she managed to get through that, but presently, my granddaughter is not in dance anymore. I just wanted to say that my daughter had homeschooled her kids for quite some time. So now they are in a school where they are in that situation, where there's a few black kids, or African American kids, I should say. And so there are some of the other kids who are saying, where did they come from? Because they talk different.
Yes.
And my granddaughter, so she doesn't have that Southern talk, but she was born there.
Right.
So now she's experiencing that, you know. You talk different,
Yes.
and you walk different.
Yes.
But this is because of the way that my daughter has taught her,
Right.
homeschooling them and then preparing them.
Right.
So, you know, it's just the flip of the coin. You know, you're going to get it on one end or you're going to get it on the other. But as a parent, I believe is that we train up a child, and then whatever they are taught at home, it will carry through with them.
Amen. Amen.
So.
That's key. So we train them up at home, set the foundation, and we have to release them and just put them in God's hands, quite honestly.
Yes.
You know, so, and sorry, Pamela.
No, absolutely. And the training that we deliver to our children at home is so imperative. And, you know, I remind my children, my daughter and my son, that, okay, you're at home, you know right from wrong, you know how we view the world and how we participate in the world. I said, but as soon as you leave our doors, people don't know you. They're not going to take the time to understand your thought and your perspectives. So remember that, okay? So you have to be careful about how you act at home, because those habits transform outside where people, they're not concerned with that, right? They're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. They're not going to try to seek understanding or take on your views. And there was another point, Sortina and also Sor Claudette, that you had raised in regards to, and also yourself, making sure that our children feel inclusive, right? That they don't feel lonely.
Right.
And that was something that was always with me too, as Portia and Chase were growing up. So therefore, creating an environment, right? So, being the Girl Scout, mom, right? Started 2 troops for Girl Scouts, because I wanted to make sure that the troops, right, had African-American young ladies in them as well.
Right.
So again, and that goes back to what we had talked about earlier, being in charge, taking control, taking the lead, so that you can create the environment that is going to be beneficial for your children.
Right. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for coming out today. This dialogue has been great, and I know I've received a lot from you ladies just in sharing your experience with me. And my hope and prayer is that other parents out there, they will glean something from what you guys said, and just how to, raise up a strong, confident child. And we just pray that just not just the Silicon Valley, but the world in general will just be a little bit more understanding and celebrate all differences, because God made us very different, but there's nobody that he made more special than anybody else. We're all the same. We all bleed red. We vary in shades and hues and ethnicities, but again, we're all God's children, and it's all good. And that's my hope and prayers, that we'll just learn to be a little bit more respectful and loving of one another's and our differences, and just learn to celebrate each other. So I just want to thank you guys once again. This has been so awesome. And, just stay tuned, you guys, because we focused a lot on, the girls today is called Girl Power, but down the pipeline, I'm going to be doing something that's geared more towards our little black boys. And I'm just really excited with the panel that I'm lining up for that. So be on the lookout for that. And I just want to end this on, what I like to end it on. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is the present. And that's why we call it a gift. So make this 24 count. God bless you. Thank you.
Now I'm crossing over, cause Jehovah came and set me free. And he rose, he's alive, this I know. So I'm free
from crying, free from my depression. Put my faith inside your love. Now I'm reaching for my blessing.
Cause he died and he rose, he's alive, this I know. I'm crossing over, I crossed over, I put the cross over everything.
So I'm free from crying, free from my depression. Put my faith inside your love. Now I'm reaching for my blessing.
I'm crossing over, I crossed over, I put the cross over everything.